Hello everyone and welcome to the FPL Cougars show. I'm Chris.
I'm Kieran.
And today we are continuing to analyse the opening fixtures for the remaining Premier League clubs, including Liverpool, Man City, Man United, Newcastle, Sheffield United, Southampton, Tottenham, West Brom, West Ham and Wolves. So this is the second part of our fixture review, so check out our channel for the first part if you missed that over the weekend. Before we get into the show proper, we just want to take a moment to say if you haven't subscribed to us on the platform you're currently watching or listening to, then do that right now. That big red shiny button is just one click away. And what that's going to give you is access to our preview shows once a week. We talk about the upcoming game weeks. We're looking to hit 5,000 subscribers before the start of the season. That's like a nice juicy goal for us. So if you're one of those who aren't subscribed, do that now and make our dream come true. Should also say that we're very active on Twitter. If you aren't following us, you can keep up with us there at FPL Cougars. Kieran, let's just talk very briefly about Fantasy Football Hub. We mentioned it the other day on the stream. You can sign up to be a member via a link in our description. You and I both use it. We love it, don't we?
We do, yeah. Just like we said the other day, all the stats you could possibly need for the whole season, all the articles, captaincy discussions, fixture tickers, literally everything you could want with it. Obviously, Ben Crellin's stuff for all of his double game week planners and everything like that. So, yeah, get your chops around it, I think.
Get your chops around it. Well, I mean, never a truer word spoken. All right, let's move on to the stuff everyone came here for. That's the fixture discussion, isn't it, Kieran? I was just thinking what we're talking about. So I pulled up our latest drafts on screen. Changed even a little bit since the weekend and probably going to continue to change because there's all sorts of transfer murmurings happening, not least Messi, who we'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, let's start by talking through the fixtures and we can talk about our drafts as we go. So I think we're picking up with Liverpool, aren't we? And their opening set of fixtures.
Yeah, so champions from last season, obviously. And so the first four are okay-ish. Obviously, Leeds up first at home, which obviously we don't have any history from that. But yeah, the Chelsea, Arsenal and Villa games last season. So they won all three of them. They won 1-2 away for Chelsea, 3-1 at home to Arsenal, and then 1-2 away win at Villa. So as you can see there, no clean sheets, which is probably a little worrying from those three. And obviously Chelsea have strengthened, Arsenal look like they're strengthening. Villa weren't too bad at the back at the end. So these possibly are tougher than you first might look at, I think. But yeah, Trent, Robbo, probably fixture proof anyway. We think they can always get a clean sheet against anyone. So if you own one of them or you want two, then fine. I think it's probably still fine to own them at this point. But yeah, Trent's over 50% owned. So at this point, you're probably going to need at least another one from their defence to benefit from a clean sheet. And obviously, we know that they can obviously get attacking returns at any point as well. So neither of you and me have got a double up in the defence.
No.
We've both got Salah at this point. And obviously Trent, because he seems to be nailed on in everyone's teams at this point.
Yeah.
But what do you think about the sort of double defence? Should we be going there or not?
Well, I was going to pick up on this really because I feel since the restart and then even in their friendly games they haven't looked too good at the back. They conceded 2 goals against, it was Red Bull Salzburg, wasn't it? They played in that friendly the other day, and
I think the first one was Stuttgart. They conceded, and then it was Salzburg yesterday. I think.
That's right. They conceded 2 again. So I had a look at their defensive stats. So they only kept 3 out of 9 clean sheets after the restart. 2 of those before they won the league, and then they really switched off for the last games. I think one was against Everton. I remember they had a really nervy one they got over the line against Villa. I just kind of think it'll be interesting to see how they head into this season. Obviously, they've been so solid the last 2, 35 clean sheets lost across the last 2 seasons. But coming into this season, how is their motivation and also how is their defence? It's obviously not been such a long time since Project Restart. Are they going to be focused and switch on again?
I mean, in these friendlies, they've started with pretty much the best defence other than Trent, who obviously isn't a great defender anyway. So I wouldn't really say that affects the defence much with him not being there. So, and they've been easily losing clean sheets in these 2 games. So I think for the time being, I'm happy with just Trent, but I would like Van Dijk, I would like Robbo, but it's money this year with so many premiums to choose from and Aubameyang and Midnet now that it's it's eating up the funds. And I started with double defence last year, and they didn't get a clean sheet until like week 4 or 5, and I was absolutely hating my life. So yeah,
I was going to say they were slow out of the blocks last season as well, weren't they? Because I remember you were holding on to that double. I think you had Van Dijk and Trent at that time, and it seemed like weeks before that paid off, and it was quite a lot of your budget tied up in those two. Yeah,
exactly. And any double defence at any time is a big worry. And obviously, Liverpool are one of the best that you can do that for, and maybe even City, but you never know who's going to play for City. So it's obvious who you can go for in the Liverpool defence, but it's just risky at this time. I think it's probably better. You could probably spend 6 million on Doherty instead of Robertson and still get decent points, I think. So, yeah.
A little look back at last season's stats on the fly while we were just talking about it. So after their first 10 game weeks last season, they only kept 2 clean sheets. So yeah, it wouldn't be a surprise if they were slow out the box this time as well, based on pre-season and Project Restart, really. I've seen a little bit of talk about people dropping Salah in favour for the double and triple defence. That seems quite a popular thing to be chatting about sort of in the FPL sphere at the moment. I wonder if that's due in part to people just having too much time to tinker, and also the fact that Aubameyang's bumped up to 12. Is there anything which makes you think, it's worth going without Salah during the start of the season? I mean, the guy's a freak. He's got 303, 259, 333 points in the last 3 seasons. I can't understand why you'd want to be an off-field points.
His points have gone downwards year on end, but it's Salah we're talking about. He usually starts quite well, at least consistently well. And this Leeds at home game seems ripe for a good few goals. And then Chelsea, Arsenal haven't been that great at the back, or haven't been great at the back for a while. Chelsea obviously haven't replaced Kepa yet. They look like they're getting better defenders. But then Chilwell's not a great defender. Silva's got some mistakes as well. We said in the last show. So I think those games still have goals in it for him, and Salah is just scary not to own. And I've done it too many times. I'm just happy to start the season with him and go from there. But as you can see in my draft, I've got him and Mane. Mane's just sort of a placeholder for the time being for the first game. See how that goes, and when they start together, they seem to have basically exactly the same sort of stats, really sort of similar stats when they start together. But it's when Salah starts without Mane that he is way above anyone else sort of with his points returns. So I'm happy to own both for the first game, and then just sort of see how I feel and bring in Bruno if it seems to be on my plan at the moment.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people commented on the show from the weekend saying they quite liked your approach, just having that player who was more expensive than both Bruno and KDB in Mane, and there just for a straight swap. The same with Aubameyang, and I think probably you'll see a lot of people as this get closer to the start of the season enforcing that tactic, really. Any final thing, unless you've got any more final points on Liverpool, would probably just to mention Curtis Jones and Williams. They're 2 relatively inexpensive players in a Liverpool team, which I think they'll probably start to get a few more minutes off the bench this season. So Curtis Jones, 4.5 million midfielder, and Williams is the young right back who sort of came in and played in part for Trent at the end of last season. He's 4 million. They could be, not necessarily, but they could be some very good bottom or second and third bench options for you if you're trying to squeak some price point or squeak some price. Are you shaking your head at that? I feel like they're reliable enough to come on every game. Or Jones more than Williams. Sorry,
I think it just is going to take a spot from a Liverpool player, and it's just you're probably going to want to triple up in their starters at some point. So if you take one of them from the start, it's going to be a bit awkward to get rid. And then just one other thing was just to say their stats across the season, they were basically second for everything behind City. And it's kind of crazy to me that they were so far ahead in City on points, where they were second by a long way in most of the stats. So, it would be interesting to see how that sort of lines up this year. But I think Liverpool and City are probably still way ahead of everyone else. I would think Liverpool are probably going to regress a bit, and I think it will be more of a title race this year. And City have obviously bought well. Liverpool haven't really. They've just got a backup for Robertson. So, interesting.
Like it. Well, let's move on to Man City. Obviously, the exciting point from an FPL point of view and sort of a world football point of view is the fact that we could have Messi, if reports are be to believe that he could be joining Man City, with lots of reporters sort of speculating that City could be his destination. I mean, before we even start to talk about Man City's fixtures, we've got to mention the little man. What do you think about the potential prospect of Messi in the Premier League?
I mean, it sounds like that's probably the only place he could go, the only place that can really afford him, other than maybe PSG and Juve, maybe. But
yeah, maybe.
It seems unlikely. Well, no. Apparently he's on something like, he earns like $1 million a week. So, I mean, it's just the money involved would just be absolutely mental, even if that is a free transfer, which it sounds like Barcelona are trying to dispute anyway. So, I don't think it's going to happen, and people are saying he's going to go to Man United. No chance in that either. So, yeah, to be honest, I'll believe it when it happens, but I can't see it. And if it did happen, he'd probably be 14 million at least, and it's just going to affect everything in your whole squad. Yeah. The balance is going to be absolutely awful. You're going to have to find sort of Perez's for your team and stuff like that, and it's just going to suck.
That'd be ridiculous. No, I kind of, it'd be so exciting to see if it happened. Just the idea of just adding Messi's name to your 15 squad, even if he was 14, 15 million, it'd be so fun. But yeah, we'll wait to see. Maybe we'll have a better update by the time we next do a recording. But talking more about City's start, they've obviously got the blank away trip to Wolves, home game against Leicester, and another away game against Leeds and Bielsa. What do you sort of make to the start of their season? Does it really matter who they're playing? We saw they've got the great underlying numbers.
Well, the Wolves away was a loss to them last season, so they're 3-2, which is obviously a good game. But yeah, Wolves seem to like playing City.
Yeah.
And then they beat Leicester 3-1. I imagine they'll probably smash Leeds. So yeah, I don't think the fixtures are that great. You could probably go without them until like week 6, 7 if you really want to. But my plan is to just take Aubameyang out in week 3 for this Leicester game for KDB, and just leave KDB for the season, and just or Sterling obviously, and just go from there. It's impossible not to own them, I think, because they could beat anyone at any time. Yeah, I mean their team stats across the season was absolutely massive. Their XG as a team was 99.04, which is a massive 21 XG ahead of Liverpool in second.
Wow.
I mean that is huge. I mean
that's crazy.
I mean that sort of the big XG was sort of not really scored that much for well, they should have scored more. There was poor finishing from Foden, Mahrez, Jesus, and all those guys. Their XGs were really high, but they missed a whole hell of a lot of chances. And then I think this is the second, maybe third, I don't know if you can say it, correct me on this, but season in a row with 100 goals scored. And yeah, Liverpool were nowhere near that as well. So they were about 80. I actually haven't got the number, but yeah, so the stats, as I said earlier when I was talking about Liverpool, first for everything that's needed anyway. They had 746 shots, which is 100 plus more shots than the second place team in Chelsea. So you know they're going to be scoring goals, they're going to be creating chances, and you're going to need them. If you think you can get away with going without them until 6 or 7, I think you're barking up the wrong tree here.
Yeah, you'd be you'd be fall behind, wouldn't you, for sure? So
yeah, that's why Aubameyang is in there for those first 2 fixtures, just to hit on to KDB, who's just going to hopefully start the season well, or Raz. And yeah, speaking of Sterling, actually, he obviously has got that. Been quarantined, I believe, and getting his COVID-19 test after partying with Usain Bolt over the weekend, who actually tested positive himself a few days later. So yeah, he might miss the start of the season. Who knows at this point? But yeah, I'm going to be getting on to City assets for sure, and I think Laporte could still be a good player as well, because I don't think he's been sort of injury free for a while now. If he plays, starts games and then plays until about 70 odd minutes and comes off with a clean sheet intact, you're laughing, aren't you? So yeah, I think Laporte's at least nailed. Depends who sort of goes with him. I guess it will be Ake, but I'm really not sure who that will be. Koulibaly is in the works possibly as well for City, which would be huge for them, because it should just be clean sheets across the board. But yeah, I'm excited to own a few of them at least.
Yeah, I think that especially the defensive side is an interesting one. We all think about Liverpool and their great defensive record, but City actually got more clean sheets than they did last season overall. And when you consider Laporte was out of the team for so long, that's quite an achievement. I think they ended on in the Project Restart. They had 7 out of 9 clean sheets to end the season, so 2 more than the next best side, which was Man United. So I think there's probably if we can get on Laporte or find out if there's another defender, we know Guardiola likes to rotate, but whoever that other centre back partner is, they could be a good route into a City backline who are going to keep clean sheets. It's just that thing, as always with City. Do you want to invest your money in a backline for them when they've got such a high ceiling of points from their forward and midfield players? But no, I think if you can nail down that defender in their team like Laporte, who could be a really good source of points this season, and I think he's still priced at 6 million, isn't he? So comparably speaking to the Liverpool assets, I think Van Dijk's the cheapest nailed starter at 6.5. I think it could be a good source of points.
That's good value, to be honest. That could be somewhere I go when I've downgraded Mane, Aubameyang, and I will have 2 point something in the bank to be able to get to a Laporte, which would be nice with a -4 in game week 3 possibly. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something to consider. All right, have you got any more to add on City before we move on?
No, let's move on.
No, okay, so it's Newcastle next. So I've noticed that
it's Man United, isn't it?
Oh, maybe it is Man United. It is Man United. Yeah, you're right. Gosh, yeah. I kind of think their fixtures, this is United now, aren't so great. So on the fantasy football website, the ticker makes them look quite good. But after the blank, they've got Palace, who they lost against last season at home. They've got Brighton, which admittedly is an easier game, and they won quite comfortably and restart. But then they've got matches against 3 of last season's top 6 and the next 4 after that. So that includes Chelsea, Tottenham and Arsenal. Oddly, they all come to Old Trafford. But I think that's quite a stern test to start the season. I mean, it should be said that they didn't lose any of those corresponding fixtures last season, but I think early doors out of the season when teams are really on it, I think those 3 fixtures those 3 teams heading to Old Trafford, certainly not going to be a walkover, and I'd be quite surprised to see any big points from their players. So maybe that sort of maybe not dampens Bruno's appeal, but that maybe dampens his captaincy possibilities towards the start of the season. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe the captaincy is not going to go there, but I think for me, I still definitely want to own him because especially in the in the Europa League when they only won 1-0 in the quarterfinal, he got the penalty, he still scored, and he's still getting points there. It's going to happen all the time this season where he's probably just going to get an assist or a 1-0 win in one of those games, or he's going to get a penalty or a free kick win or something like that. I think that's going to happen all the time this season, and everyone thinks he's not going to be a good value at 10.5 compared to Rashford or Greenwood. Exactly, and post lockdown he scored 79 FPL points. Was only Sterling scored more, who scored 2 hat tricks and things. He had 6 goals, 5 assists, an XG of 4.99, XA of 1.88, 8 big chances, 3 big chances created, and 18 key passes. I mean, his numbers aren't exactly KDB levels, but they're actually not that far behind. So to be honest, I can't see any reason they can't win loads of pens and free kicks again, considering Martial, Greenwood, Rashford's pace. That's what they're built for, and it's going to happen. I'm pretty sure of it. So I'm happy to own him, because if people don't want to get on him, then fine. Then his ownership is going to be way lower, and then I'm happy with that. Yeah,
and Ollie's just going to run him into the ground. So he is going to play pretty much every game. I mean, you've always got that lingering doubt with a Man City asset, whether it be like you say a Sterling, maybe Kevin less so. But are they actually going to play? But Bruno's going to play, and if there's a penalty come up for it, he's usually putting his hands out trying to grab the ball first. So. No, I'm sort of basing a lot of my thinking of heading into game week 1 with knowing that Palace and Brighton games in game weeks 2 and game weeks 3, I'm going to want a Man United player in there, and it's probably going to be Bruno. It's just after that the fixtures stiffen up a tiny bit.
Yeah, and I think Martial should be good value as well this year. If Werner doesn't sort of hit the ground running, then I think you could easily switch him to Martial. But Chelsea's fixtures are good for quite a while. So maybe that would be risky, but I like Martial. I think Greenwood could be good, assuming Sanchez doesn't sign, which who knows at this point. And then Rashford at midfield should be good as well, a good value at least. But we need to see him play better because his recent form has been awful. So
yeah, he was really poor in the sort of Europa League mini competition. So and also towards the end of Project Restart, so hopefully he comes back a bit more motivated. Anything else on United about their? I suppose they're. I mean, I've got a note here that I don't really want to own any of the defenders again, but they did have a good sort of upturn in their defensive side of things towards the end of last season. I suppose, is it the lack of attacking options there that have made you sort of not so interested in a United defender? I mean, Wan-Bissaka, I think, was their most sort of, or had their most attacking output across the season.
Not really. If Shaw's not fit, then I don't like the defence of Brandon Williams because he's just not good enough.
Yeah.
And who knows what's happening with Maguire at this point? If his confidence is going to go down somewhat, and if he's going to get stripped to captaincy, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think I'm happy to avoid for now, even though there probably will be a few clean sheets.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so fascinated to see what happens between Henderson and De Gea, just talking from a general football point of view rather than FPL. Like, will he turf him out? And what games is he going to get given to show he could basically supersede De Gea? So I'm fascinated to see how that goes.
Yep.
All right, Newcastle. So I think they've got quite good fixtures. So bar an away game against Spurs, game week 3, and a home one against Man United in game week 5. I think they've got a great run. So in the first 14 game weeks, they only played 2 of last season's top 4, which is a really, really solid start to the season. And last season when they were great at home, they had 7 clean sheets, which was the 4th best record in the league, the same amount as Man United and Liverpool. Their first home games are against Brighton, Burnley, Everton, West Brom and Fulham. So I've noticed since the weekend, you've obviously picked up on this when doing the notes because I can see Dubravka's in your team.
Yeah.
And I've welcomed Lascelles into my team, I think, in place of Ferguson, because we've heard that he's got a bit of a knee injury and he probably not be ready for game week 1. But Lascelles had a flag on him until maybe the day yesterday or the day before. And I'm really keen to have a Newcastle defender in my team now.
Yeah, Lascelles played the friendly yesterday and got a really nice assist. So.
Saw that, yeah.
Yeah, Lascelles looking essential right now. But yeah, they like you said, their fixtures look so good, and I can't believe we haven't looked at them before because their home form was so good and their home fixtures are so good. Like they seem to be going massively under the radar. Everyone's looking at St. Maximin, which I understand because of their fixtures, but why are people not looking at their defence? Seems mental. I mean, probably people weren't looking at it because they thought Dubravka's bit too much maybe, and then Lascelles had that sort of, it was the only nailed one at 4.5 who had that flag. So now with Lascelles fit, I think it seems like we're absolutely looking there. And I can't remember who they sort of rotate well with, but that Spurs fixture as well. They won that game. That away Spurs, they won 1-0. So I think that was one of the times when everyone was looking at Kane as well last season. And I just thought, Kane's going to ruin me. But Newcastle brought it out of the bag. Win, draw, win, and draw in these 4 fixtures last year for Newcastle. So that's clean sheets across the board for Lascelles pretty much. And I think the West Ham game to start with is probably going to be difficult. I think they probably concede in that just because of how well West Ham had been doing.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
But then the others, I think there's a good chance. I think Tottenham, we know, are more defensive nowadays. Brighton and Burnley probably clean sheets at home. So I think I'm definitely going to own one of them. And Dubravka, I think, is good because he was their top scorer last year. But at 5.0 seems a bit awkward. But lots of saves, lots of bonus if they don't score much, which Newcastle don't. So yeah, I quite like him as someone there.
I've been at the end of last season, I had Fernandes for a little while. He's 5 million as well. I think if he and Lascelles actually managed to complete a full season, you'd be looking at between 140 points, 150 points for them because especially Fernandes, he's great for baseline bonus. He had 13 bonus last season. He did that in 2,600 minutes, which is, more than Dubravka managed in the full. I think Dubravka played every minute last season, so. For Fernandes to miss roughly about 600 minutes and still pick up that bonus is quite incredible with the 2 goals, 3 assists, and 8 cleaners to Dubravka's 11. I think there's a lot of logic behind having one of the 2 Newcastle centre backs or the goalkeeper in your team.
Shame he's 5-0 Fernandes, but
Yeah, it is a real shame. I kind of figured it. I think he ended the season about 4.8, 4.9, so it doesn't surprise me. But yeah, he would be the standout option if I could afford that extra 0.5 million. I think for me.
Scored yesterday in the friendly as well, so with a header. So
he's dangerous from set plays, really dangerous. I mean, the underlying numbers for his XG and XA from even knockdowns in the box are nothing to be sniffed at. I think he's a decent option.
I think Richie is now a midfielder in the game.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he got position moved.
5-0, not too bad. I mean, if he's possibly taking penalties and set pieces, if obviously he's not playing defence anymore, so that could be fine, to be honest. Like a 5-0 with the fixtures, I don't think that's too bad, considering that the 5-0 is either Souček or someone like Norwood who doesn't do anything at all, and Bergen sort of thing. So yes, Richie, Souček, and then Armstrong, Alan St. Maximan, 5.5. Yeah, Richie's not too bad, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I like the Richie shot. He's not someone I've given much thought to, but 5 million is quite a good price point, or quite a popular price point with all the expensive mids. So yeah, trying to squeeze in Richie for those good fixtures might be a good shout.
But at the same time, I'm not sure he's completely nailed. But yeah,
okay, all right, but still,
yeah.
Sheffield United, they had some okay results in these fixtures last season, didn't they? Can't remember.
Yeah, so Wolves at home was a win, 1-0. Aston Villa away was a 0-0 draw, and then a 1-1 draw against Arsenal away. Yeah. So, yeah, there looks to be decent clean sheets and points here as well. And I did have Ramsdale in my team a few days ago as well. And honestly, I think he should just sort of slot into that defence, defence, but as a goalkeeper, I see no reason why they can't keep as many clean sheets as they did last year. 13 may be too much, but they'll probably go down a bit. But, considering after the lockdown, they were sort of not getting clean sheets as readily. So I think maybe teams started to figure them out a bit. But, their starting fixtures are okay. They're a little bit mixed, but I think there is good home fixtures for them. And I think there's clean sheets to be had. Ramsdale of 5.0, set and forget. Seems fine to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, really. Obviously, last season they racked up 13 clean sheets, and their defenders have seen generally a price rise because of it. I think it's interesting that Egan and Basham are the same price at 5 million, but Egan has just whomped him and every other defender. He's on 18% ownership. Basham, incredibly, is just down on a 2.7%. So there's quite a big gap, and generally. Egan is, like I say, so highly owned, but the others aren't. I think it's surprising, really, from a team that have managed that many clean sheets last season, there isn't more interest in them. I guess in part it's due to the mixed fixtures. So the first 10 games, they play 5 teams who finished inside the top 7 last season. But then on the flip side, they play 3 promoted clubs plus Villa, who were kind of lucky to survive. So it is a mix. The thing I'd probably suggest is what I think, you've done part of. Maybe you'll flex do the whole thing, but they rotate really well with Saints, who similarly have a sort of mixed to good, I'd say, set of fixtures. So yeah, they could be, or a Sheffield United defender could be a good one to rotate with someone like Carl Walker-Peters, who you've got on your team.
Yeah, well, the Walker-Peters plus Egan rotation of 9.5 million is going to get you a Crystal Palace at home, away, Aston Villa away, Leeds at home, West Brom at home, Fulham at home, Everton at home, Aston Villa away, Newcastle at home, and then Wolves away. That for the first how many weeks?
That's 9, I think it is. Yeah,
9 weeks. Good. So yeah, that's crazy good, and that's not just home rotation. That's home and away, but that's facing bad sides. So KWP plus Egan seems quite good, but at the same time, you if you're going to rotate defenders, you sort of want it to be as part of a back 3.
Yeah,
which neither of us are seeming to be sort of doing this year because of how much there is, like how much premiums there are and how much little budget we have to be able to do a back 3 properly. Because of the sort of bad midfield sort of low price options. That's why we're not going that. But yeah,
and the lack of sort of like low to middling striker options as well. Like I'd love to play 3-4-3 this season or play 3-5-2, but it's just there isn't the options yet that have shown up either in pre-season or just on the general fixtures that look like they're going to be good value. I've been sitting on Mitrovic for a week, and I kind of just feel like, Fulham's fixtures are good, but still it's Fulham and Mitrovic, and I look at him and think, gosh, where is like the low-priced value in the forward line? I can't see any.
Well, Leeds signed someone new today, the Valencia forward, Rodrigo, but hopefully he comes at... No, he hasn't got a good record at all.
No, he hasn't.
So hopefully he comes at 6 million, and he might be an option at some point. But yeah, there is not another 6 million apart from maybe Adams if you really want to go there. But he's not nailed either. So
no,
yeah, it's tough.
It's really tough. And when you consider like all the options you'd probably get in defence or midfield, it's not really a surprise why people are sort of gravitating towards putting that money into defence. All right, is there any more to add on? We sort of got a bit sidetracked there. Is there any more to add on Sheffield United?
Just going to say, Lundstrom, obviously Lord Lundstrom from last year, is now a 5.5 million midfielder. 5 goals, 4 assists last year, 144 points as a defender. Not bad, obviously. But yeah, as a mid, I guess I haven't done the actual sort of pricing or the math in my head, but he's gone down to about 30, I would guess about 30 points less-ish. So that would be about 110 points for him for the season. So if he was a midfielder, this is not fantastic. So hopefully there's a 4.0 like him that emerges this year, but it seems to be slim pickings at this point, doesn't it? So yeah.
No, definitely. All right. Well, on to Southampton. I think that's right. Next, I kind of think that again they've got quite a mixed sort of opening 4 fixtures, but then after that they look a little bit better. So in the opening 4 game weeks, they've got games against Spurs and Chelsea, mixed in with away ties at home games against Spurs and West Brom, and away games against Palace and Burnley. Look a little bit further past that, and I think Southampton have decent fixtures up until surprisingly the November international break. So they've got 6 fixtures against sides who either came up from the Championship or finished 10th or below. I just feel like they could be a good source of investment. So they've got no FPL who was a forward last season scored more points than Danny Ings at 8.5 in the post-lockdown era, with him finishing 1 goal away from the Golden Boot. And I think if he can replicate a little bit of the form he showed last season, or a lot of the form he showed last season, he's going to be a really good valued pick in there, especially with the fixtures. I've got Danny in my team from now. You obviously mentioned Che Adams. I mean, he did worry me a little bit at the end of last season by appearing in the starting lineup more often, but I kind of think with Ings you've got the security of starts, and I know James Ward-Prowse is good on penalties, and we saw Ings was a bit naff towards the end of the season, missing a crucial one at Bournemouth, which could have helped him get the Golden Boot. But whether he's going to want to try and take those penalties off James Ward-Prowse for the long term and go for the Golden Boot again this year.
I mean, maybe. Surely we'll see some regression, I think, in his goals, at least. I think Saints as a team is going to be, as we said last show, I think top sort of 10-ish, so like something like an 8th, something like that would be my guess. But I think, Ings is obviously going to be good value. I would like to pick him, but I don't think he'll be as that close to that many goals this year. Though I think he can obviously still do well. And I think I'm starting to think that Armstrong and Adams just aren't options.
No, yeah.
But I have Armstrong because there's Gineppo, there's Redmond, there's Smallbone. So there's issues with Armstrong's place, and if he sort of has a bad game, he's probably going to be dropped. So I think it's Ings possibly or no one in that attack at this point, and I really don't want to have no sort of coverage in there, but I just can't find anybody to get to Ings, so I would have to lose Mane, which has been my sort of gut feeling for a while, to have him to be able to do those other moves, whereas I could probably get onto Ings with the money downgrades from Mane and Aubameyang, and then upgrade Mitrovic in the end anyway, so maybe I just wait a little bit and see how Ings is. So that could be a way to go. But I do really want Ings, and you've got him. I'm sure you'll do really well, and I always see Ings score, or saw Ings score a lot last season, got those notifications, and it was always killing me, and I just hated it because it was always 9-pointer.
Yeah, I was the same as you, and when the game launched, we were looking at Armstrong, I was looking at Che Adams a little bit, but I kind of think I don't really want to try and cover Ings's points, because I don't think any of the assets in the team are going to be up to the job of doing it. So I was looking at the team and the stats over the weekend. I thought, well, at the moment I got Werner in there. I don't know enough about him. Admittedly, he's playing a good Chelsea side, but I mean, Ings is the talisman, the match winner in this Southampton side. And I kind of think over the course of the season, he's probably going to do as well as, if not better points-wise, than Werner. So for $1 million less, I kind of like him. Plus, I think, like I said, their fixtures are pretty decent to start the season.
Interesting, you've got rid of Werner.
Yeah, well, I've moved the team around a little bit, as you can see. I sort of downgraded Werner to Ings, and I've sort of invested a little bit more in midfield now. So I've got quite a chocker midfield with Ziyech in there, as well as Son, Aubameyang and Salah. So there's some price points in there, just to move about a little bit. Funnily enough, I actually have before I forget his name, from Crystal Palace got ruled out. Before Ferguson got ruled out, I had quite a bit of money in the bank, so I'd even experiment with having Pulisic instead of Ziyech. Had that extra 0.5 million, so yeah, it's unusual to see so much money loaded in midfield, but I'm kind of backing all of those players to hit the ground running, and I quite like having Ings as well, so it feels like a good fit at the moment.
I like it.
Yeah, just to pick them on the defensive side of things, so they weren't particularly solid at the start of last season, with only 5 clubs keeping fewer clean sheets. Sorry, about the whole of last season, only 5 clubs keeping fewer clean sheets. But their season sort of effectively got better after they got trumped by Leicester. So when Ralph switched to that 4-2-2-2, only 6 teams conceded fewer goals, and I think they've all been given some nice price points. Ben Narat, Kyle Walker-Peters, all 4.5 million, as well as Salisu. Is that how you pronounce that? I hope so. Maybe so. Yeah, cut price options to get in the team. Obviously, you've got McCarthy in goal as well. And they rotate well with Sheffield United, so I feel like there could be a good option emerging in the Southampton backline as well.
Yeah, I really like Walker-Peters. I think he's 100% nailed on, and yeah, I'm happy to own him because he's probably going to get a few assists. Ings is not really known for his aerial prowess, but I think there's definitely chances for assists for him there, and no one's really sort of in his position that can really challenge him other than Valerie, but I don't think Valerie's going to be able to do that either. So yeah, Walker-Peters looks good for the season, to be honest.
No, I like it. Okay, next team in the whole list of things is
Spursies.
It is Spursies. A little bit of interest, transfer talk. Spurs, it looks like maybe Matt Doherty out of nowhere might be heading to Spurs.
Yeah, does that make him better or worse at it?
I kind of think sadly it makes him a bit worse because Jose's definitely not going to play him in exactly the same way as Nuno would at Wolves. I mean, Nuno wants Doherty on the edge of the box, doesn't he, half the time? So,
Aurier was very attacking. So if he's replacing Aurier, then he's probably going to get that sort of free reign as well because he knows how Doherty plays. Why would you try and change him?
I suppose it's also just the players around him. Like how are they going to get used to it? How is he going to fit in the side? I want to see him first. Like if he was staying at Wolves, and I'd be more interested in. But now he's going to Spurs. I'm not as interested, despite the fact that Spurs could be a better defensive prospect. I mean, we know Mourinho has a better second season typically.
Yes, I think if he does go there, I think it's gonna help me with my guilt of not having him in my team. Because I really want him, and he's always been great for me when I've owned him before. So it's just finding that money at this point is just so difficult, especially for my structure. So the only way I can do something like that is getting rid of Mane, and I've had that. I've wanted to do that sort of move and plan system for a while now, and I really it'd be annoying if I come to the season and I don't have Mane and Salah now, and I sort of go against what I was doing for ages. Yeah, that's the problem with us doing this show is I'm probably going to talk myself out of it, but I really don't want to at this point. We'll see.
Lock it in. We've still got what, 14 days to go, about 2 weeks until the season kicks off. Yes. So I think you can hold on until then. So I mean, there's been a little bit of interest in, or probably a lack of interest in Son and Spurs. They've gone a little bit under the radar, probably because of all the other premium midfielders and Chelsea's new arrivals. But they've got some superb fixtures in the opening 8 game weeks. So I think Jose's team faced 6 clubs who finished 10th or below last season, and they also play West Brom between game weeks 1 and 8. I think the only hurdle in those fixtures is a trip to Man United before the October international break, but they look good. And like I said just a moment ago, Mourinho's second season is traditionally his best one. He had a really great second season with United when he was so happy at finishing second in the league. He's had some great seasons at Chelsea. So I don't know. You're shaking your head at the idea of the second season.
No, I think they could do well. I would like to have Son, and the only way is to get rid of Mane, as I've just said.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. But, well, speaking of, I mean, these fixtures last year for them, they had a 1-0 win against Everton, which everyone usually thinks they smash Everton, which I think they did a couple seasons back. But yeah, then they lost to Southampton 1-0. They lost to Newcastle at home 1-0. And then they lost to Man United away at 2-1. So I actually think that the first 4 fixtures, at least, are kind of rough for them. Maybe the Newcastle one was a bit of an anomaly last year, but I actually don't see them scoring that much in these first 4 games. So I think I'm going to hedge my bets and not go for any of them.
Oh, really?
Maybe a defensive asset if I can somehow get it in, but at this point I don't know how. But yeah, I'm hoping and praying that they're not going to score that much. But I think Højbjerg did well in their friendly the other day. Suarez and Bale apparently available, and Suarez possibly to Tottenham. That'd be huge, wouldn't it?
That would be cool.
How would they fit I would love to see a Bale come back. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but yeah, Bale coming back he needs to be just unleashed from Real Madrid now, doesn't he? So. Yeah, I would quite like to see that. But yeah, Dyer and Davies look pretty good and nailed on at 5.0. You've got Davies, haven't you?
Well, Jose seems to like the option of playing him at left back or playing him left centre back. It's been interesting to see who he's going to go with the right and left backs. Obviously, we talked about Doherty just a little bit. I think it looks like Aurier leaving, which I think is strange because I think he's one of their best performers last season. Foyth played in a recent friendly at right back, and I believe Sessegnon, who amazingly I was like, oh yeah, they still have him. He played left back. I'm not quite sure if any of those are going to be options starting the season, but it's interesting that Jose's giving him a run out, so definitely keep an eye on them. But the reason I talk about the defenders is just the defensive improvement at the end of last season. So 4 of the 7 clean sheets they kept in the whole season came under their new manager and after the restart. So I think there's a lot of good reason to be interested in these very affordable Spurs assets at the back.
7 clean sheets across the season was literally joint worst.
Yeah, it was bad, yeah.
I think Norwich had less, but yeah, second to joint last, which is awful considering Jose. Are they going to improve? You assume so after that lockdown thing.
I hope so.
Yeah, we'll see.
I hope so.
And Sessegnon, I just checked, is only 0.5% owned. If they do play that back 3, which they've set up in that for their friendly, I mean, why would they play a friendly in back 3 if they're not trying to do it for the season? So Sessegnon, if Davies goes left centre back and Sessegnon starts there, there's no one really else who could play there.
No.
So yeah, Sessegnon at 5 million seems quite good.
It could be an interesting one. Obviously, worth mentioning with Spurs, the downside to them is they've actually got a Europa League qualifying action either side of their game week 1 to 4 fixtures, so it'll mean a Thursday sort of Sunday turnaround for their opening one. So I mean, I imagine Jose will rest a lot of the key players, but that's something worth factoring in because there's always like a little bit of fatigue, especially when it's at the start of the season and they've had a short pre-season.
Their squad isn't as deep as Man United's was, and Man United basically rotated the whole starting team for the early Europa League games. So, but I don't think Spurs are going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think Kane was probably going to play all of them.
Yeah. Well, it'd be interesting to see how, like you say, how much they rotate because they don't, they don't have the squad. Maybe that's why they're giving Foyth and Sessegnon such run-outs in pre-season to build them up, because when the season gets going, they're going to need these fringe players to step up to keep the first team fresh. But I'm sure Jose's probably going to prioritise the Premier League this season until it becomes a point where, I don't know, maybe they're looking for Champions League qualification for Europa League. I don't know. Could be a thing. All right. Any more to add on Spurs?
No, let's move on.
Okay, so we're on to the W's now, Kieran. We're starting with West Bromwich, they've got Leicester at home in the first game. They go away to Everton, game week 2. Chelsea at home, game week 3, and then Southampton away. I think another case of the Fantasy Premier League website absolutely fluffing up the fixture ticker colours, because they don't have them down right as a red fixture until game week 9 when they go away to United, which is the only red one until game week 12. I mean, this is a promoted side coming up to the Premier League, and they're like been given green and like slightly light green and greys all over. But man, it's very misleading.
Leicester, Chelsea, at least the first two should be reds.
I know. It's
Everton
mad.
maybe as well, away at least.
I'll tell you now. So Leicester, Everton, Chelsea, all grey, and they've got green against Southampton away, grey against Burnley, green against Brighton and Fulham, and we don't know enough about them to be given these crazy colours. It's mad. I looked and I was like, oh, West Brom got some good fixtures, and I was like, oh, but it's West Brom. Anyway, I'm totally unsure. I don't know enough about West Brom to predict how they're going to look. Their squad, I don't think looks great on paper, and the fact they played 2 of last season top 5 and their first 3 is quite an off-put really for me. Hard avoided.
I think just for squad on paper, I think they look nailed on as a 20th place this season, to be honest. Can't see them doing anything other than that, really. They would be amazing if they stay out, considering their squad. So 77 goals in the Championship, where they finished second. Sam Johnson, the goalkeeper on loan from Man United, most appearances for 46. Then Livermore, I don't know if you remember him.
I do, yeah.
And then Ajayi, and then Pereira, who's being talked about a bit, were the next most appearances. So I think they had a poor end to their season with only 8 wins in their last 23 matches. So how they managed to sort of go up from that sort of area was crazy. Top goal scorer was Robson Kanu and Austin on 10 each, which isn't great. Pereira, the 6 million Brazilian guy, got 8 goals, 16 assists, which is obviously good. If that could come across to FPL in the Premiership, then great, but can't really see it happening. He hasn't really got the players around him to do much, quite like a Buendia last year with Norwich, who promising, had a good season in the Championship, but hasn't got the players around him. Arguably, Norwich had better players around them than Pereira does at West Brom. So, fixtures not too bad. Wouldn't expect many clean sheets from them, but then possibly a Johnston in goal at 4.5 million could be a set and forgetter for the season. Average last season or a few seasons ago, the promoted team did really well. From 4 onwards, they've got Southampton, Burnley, Brighton and Fulham, which is good. So, I think if you can just stick Johnston in and just forget about it at 4.5, then fine. I think that's not a bad shout, but you're probably not going to get many clean sheets. You're just looking for points from saves. Yeah.
No, I kind of agree. It's interesting that they haven't got a secondary keeper in FPL yet. Johnson's 4-5 and they got nothing else. So that's one to keep an eye on, because if they add like a young academy player or sign someone who's pretty unknown, he could get added at 4.0, and you could be looking at a nice alternative to Ryan and Buss.
I hope they do, because that's ruining a chance to have something like that happen.
Yeah.
Because why would they not put that in their game?
Well, exactly, I know. So, they've got no backup keeper for West Brom at the moment, which is, one to keep an eye on. I've seen a lot of people get excited about Pereira. I mean, he's 6 million. Everyone's like, oh my God, I've got to get this guy on my team. But the Championship is just totally different kettle of fish to the Premier League. I'm sorry to say that. And also, he's not particularly... You want your midfielders to return in a few more goals as well from the Championship. 8 goals, and like you say, I think he got... You say double the amount of assists? 16
assists, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd kind of want those reversed to be worthy of a place in my team. I'm not looking at a 6 million midfielder for assists. Anyway, I hope I'm kind of proved wrong and he becomes an option at 6 million, because that would be interesting from a balance point of view. But I'm not holding my breath on that one, sadly.
Yeah, and I don't know if you ever do it like this as well, but I've put him in my team once, and I was just like, oh my God, that kit looks absolutely disgusting, and I just have to get him out straight away, because that kit is just the worst thing. But even their away kit is absolutely atrocious. So I'm not picking West Brom players just on the look of their kit at this point.
I can totally understand that. That's part of the reason actually I've nearly got rid of Mitrovic and Anguissa, just because they haven't even got a kit in FPL. I'm like, ugh.
I know, it looks terrible.
Straight out of there. Yeah. Ridiculous.
It has even been shown that, so it's just FPL not putting it in the game yet.
I know, it's mad.
Even Leeds as well, they've got a kit revealed like a few weeks ago now, and they've just not been put in the game. Yeah,
they just really don't care at this point. Like, they'll be down. They'll be down. We'll just get through the season. They'll be down.
Yeah.
Okay. We got West Ham, the next W teams. I think these are just after Newcastle, which we talked about. They'll probably maybe get a fair. Well, they've got to get a good result because after that they've faced 6 of last season top 8 between game weeks 2 and 7. I mean, the worst run you could hope for people pinning their hopes on Souček and Antonio to bring them in some points. So the away trips look really difficult. So they've got to go to Arsenal, Leicester, and Spurs in their first 5, while they go to Anfield in game week 7. So the home ones aren't good too. So they've got Wolves at home, Man City, and that comes after Newcastle, like I say. So I was excited. I was kind of excited, Keek, like Antonio. I was like, oh, Souček maybe cheap, and he scored in the friendly yesterday. So, but maybe not for me at the start of the season.
Yeah, I think if you're doing you plan to do a game week 2 wildcard, which I wouldn't suggest, but if you are because of the blanks, then you would sort of get a few West Ham players in this game for sure. And Antonio plus a Souček plus maybe a Bowen as well. I think that seems fine for a game week 2 wildcard, but they need to win that game to get any points on the table for a while. But of all the teams we've sort of gone through so far, in these fixtures last season, they're the only team to have lost every single game of these fixtures. So, Newcastle at home was a 2-3 loss. 1-0 to Arsenal away. They lost to Arsenal away 1-0. And then Wolves at home, they lost 2-0. And then Leicester, they lost 4-1 at home. So, rough to start with for sure. And even that Newcastle game they lost, they scored 2 goals, sure, but they still lost. Joint second to last again with 7 clean sheets. The same with Chelsea and Spurs, which seems Chelsea and Spurs on 7 clean sheets seems weird, doesn't it? Antonio post lockdown was the highest XG of all players in the whole game of 6.84 with 8 goals and 1 assist. And maybe he was stat padding against Norwich for 4 goals, but he was a menace in the rest of them. And his XA was only below KDB, Vardy and Rashford, and a striker that obviously is providing both of those is rare. I think he could possibly still be a set and forget, but Haller scored a hat-trick in one of the friendlies yesterday as well. So I think Haller, for the price or the money they spent on him, is going to get more chances again this season. So, but they seem to play well together, which is fine. But the only one I think you should get or could get is Souček, because I think those sort of games where they're probably going to get a loss. I think a corner or something, a header from him at a set piece. A set piece is anybody's sort of game to get a goal from. I think Souček could be someone who could do well because he is so tall and just seems to score all the time from them. So I think Souček at 5.0 is still fine considering their fixtures, actually.
Yeah, I think you make a good point about that. I think the way they're going to sort of live and die again in some of those really tough fixtures, they're going to play for set pieces, and like you say, he's dangerous from them. I think it's a shame for Antonio because I was sort of looking at him were you looking at him before and start?
He was in my first squad before the fixtures.
Yeah, I was thinking, okay, because he got a good price, and we knew he was playing centre forward, and he's finished the season well, but he had a really rough sort of time of it against these fixtures or against these teams last season. So I think he managed 2 goals in the 10 appearances against West Ham's first 6 opponents, equivalent for this season. So he hasn't a particularly good record of them. Obviously, he had that really hot end of the season, 9 attacking returns after Project Restart, like say Fulham in that Norwich game. But yeah, it's a shame really because he's not really one I want to consider from the start. But I mean, looking a little bit further, the handy thing about obviously having all these tough fixtures means they're going to clear. So I think by the time game week 7 rolls around, I think between maybe game week 8 and 16, I think they host Fulham, Aston Villa, Palace, and Brighton at home, and they have away trips against Leeds and Southampton. So yeah, if you're looking a little bit further afield and you're planning transfers, I think usually there's an international break around game week 8. I don't know if it will be again this season because of how things have fallen, but yeah, game week 8 could be a time where Antonio and Souček come even more into your thoughts if you haven't got one of them already.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Yeah, I do like your point though about Souček and his ability from corners. I think that's
I'm sort of considering him, so I haven't really considered him before now. I just thought, Souček, like 5, not really. But considering like they're probably going to be looking for clean set piece goals, and he is going to be targeted every single time. So, I am definitely considering him now because I need money in these places. So yeah,
I think you've just found out who you need to take Marnie out for. The big man.
Yeah, 100%.
Get that big save in. All right, Wolves. This is our final team. Oh my goodness, it is our final team. Thank God. I know it feels like when you run through the fixtures, we just end up chit-chatting about ages. Someone said, can you believe it, on our comment? He said, you guys ramble quite a lot. I kind of feel like we're structured. I feel like we know what we're talking about. Do you feel like? I feel like we know what we're talking about. Let us know.
I hope so.
Let us know. I feel like we're quite structured. Anyway, section starting now, Wolves. Then, end of show. Cool. All right. Wolves. Sheffield United away, Man City at home, West Ham away, Fulham at home. Kind of okay. It's a bit of an off-putting start with those doubleheader against Sheffield United and Man City, two sides who finished in the top four for the fewest goals conceded last season. So tricky from an attacking point of view. After that, it gets a little bit easier. I think they got matches against newly promoted Fulham and Leeds. They're sandwiched by matches against West Ham, Newcastle, and Crystal Palace. So I think they've got after the Sheffield United and Man City games. I think they've got quite a fair run. Wolves.
Yeah, they do. Possibly instead of an Ings move after game week 3 with sort of my money saved, I could go to Jimenez instead with the West Ham, Fulham, all those fixtures that look good. To be honest, and Jimenez actually did have better stats across the board than Ings last year. Obviously, not in the goals scenario, but he was consistently consistent. So I quite like that. But yeah, if they lose Doherty and they buy someone else, then that's a little bit worrying, I guess. He doesn't do that much defending, I suppose, but that does dampen their sort of defensive output, I guess.
Probably what
Size at 5.
I was just going to say, probably what it makes an effect on, or what will be really interesting, is Wolves' system is 3-4-3, 3-5-2 sometimes, with Johnny and Doherty playing their wing-backs. If they haven't got their first choice 2 wing-backs to start the season, that's quite a big shift. I mean, we've seen how poor, it's a little bit different, but seen how poor Leicester were when they lost Pereira and Chilwell through injury last season. There's no reason why the same sort of thing can't happen to Wolves, really. So I'd be interested to see how it affects their attacking output. Maybe Traore plays full-time right wing. Could be an option.
Yeah, Traore's being overlooked, 6.5 million is not too bad for him still. The people are looking at 6.5 million mids all the time, and Traore just doesn't seem to be one in many teams. So, I would like Doherty to get that move so I don't have to pick him, and I hope Vinagre is still the sort of choice there because they still haven't made that transfer yet, and I think he at least starts the season considering everything at this point. I think he's fine to pick for now, but we'll see. We've just got to keep an eye on the sort of a transfer window for Vinagre and Doherty. But and Saiss and Bolly, probably not good enough value at their price hike. Saiss might be at 5.0, but Bolly at 5.5, who is probably only really going to get a couple bonus occasionally and a clean sheet, doesn't really get many goals. Probably a bit too much for him now. Cody's obviously a dead pick as well, and then Patricia at 5.5, maybe a bit too much as well. No,
it's kind of funny how their defence is going to be shuffled around quite a lot. It'd be interesting if they do sign, or what price their Doherty replacement comes in at, and then we're talking about as if it's actually happened, and then also if Traore plays right wing back. But no, I'm looking forward to seeing how they line up. I think their clean sheet chances are good. So they've got Newcastle, Crystal Palace, and Sheffield United, and I think they're 3 of the 6 clubs who scored the fewest number of goals in last season, rocking up. So I think they're got some chances for some clean sheets early doors this season.
It would be lovely if Jota was nailed. 6.5 million mid now.
Midfielder.
That would be great. Who usually actually does still play pretty much close to the top. So I would like to see that still, but we'll see.
I think he'll probably have a better overall season than he did last season in terms of just because that extra sort of point for the goal. He did score 7 last season, so those extra goals and probably the extra bonus that comes with it would have knocked him up a little bit. But he scored 139. Sorry.
Yeah, then Podence is obviously starting to get more minutes. Neto is an issue as well, so that there is 2 people who can take his place at any one time. So
that's true. All right, have we got any more to add? That's it, isn't it?
No, hopefully that wasn't too rambly.
No,
it probably was from my end, but
I think it was good. We've had busy weeks. Right, so we're going to do 2 more shows, we think, before the season starts in 2 weeks' time. We're going to do a sort of a pre-season recap about a week and a bit before the start of the season, and then we're going to do our normal game week preview probably about 2 or 3 days before the season starts, just to make sure we try and get everything covered. It's going to be so tricky with the build-up to this one, just because pre-season sort of reports are difficult to come by. Everyone seems to be starting at different stages, but we'll do our best to do a bit of a concise roundup a couple of weeks, or I suppose it'll be about 8-9 days from now.
Yep.
But yeah, all right. Well, I think that's everything, Kieran. You got any more to
remember
say?
to sub everyone.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, hit the big red button, guys. Cool. All right. See you all in a bit. Bye from me.
Cheers, everyone.